In this video, I am going to discuss about redesigning of public administration in the changing global environment. Here, if you are not watched the video, please go and watch in the previous 4 videos. Then only you can understand how the public administration originated and what are the importance about the public administration, etc. And now move on to discuss our today video, that is redesigning public administration in the changing global environment. What is mean that? So the changing, so here you have to discuss the changes happened in the previous traditional method as well as the new modern method. Okay, and here the redesigning, how the redesign happened in the public administration, we have to discuss in the perspective. So let's begin our important message from this topic. So in the context of the globalization, the public administration chases to become the nation centric, since it's open to various kinds of influences which are rooted elsewhere in the globe. So in order to respond to the new demands, the discipline needs to shake off that in ethnocentric character. It means previously all the countries are in the nation centric. Currently it is converted into ethnic centric. Okay, ethnic means more the people, those who are lived in the traditional way of tribal community, like that. So the ethnic centric based demands is increased. So one of the areas that clearly reflects in this consensus is a comparative public administration. So what is meant by that? So the previous traditional method and the modern method, so there is a comparison between this. So and a comparison also among the nations, different nations. Now it is converted into nation centric to ethnic centric. So here we are going to discuss in this perspective. So let's move on to next slide here. So what is happening? So the structural functionalizations of the old variety and the system theory, here it is mostly old one. Okay, so instead of drawing the theoretical inspirations from the Garble Almond and W. Briggs and Friedel Hardy, and the contemporary CPA is largely oriented towards the theories of the governance and public management. So the contemporary comparative public administration focus on two things. One is governance and second one is the public management, sorry. So this means that the public administration is truly interdisciplinary and appreciates cross disciplinary borrowings, unlike its earlier incarnations when it heavily drew on the grand theories and remained inflexible. So moreover, here the true discipline is creating the more inflexibility among the theorists as well as the traditional way. So the besides it's substantially altered that the perspectives of the focus of CPA has to undergone the radical changes. So it's automatically alter the theories as the, and it's also creating contradictory to the past practices. When bureaucracy remained the primary focus of the attention, the public administration in its present articulation is multidimensional. So in which the bureaucracy remains one of the mechanisms for governance. So mostly it's focused on governance, it's contradictory towards the past practices. So this is reflected in the approaches to the administrative reforms that involves the role of the stakeholders in the governance. So an area that was never considered a significant in the past conceptualizations of the administrative change. The one of the significant outcomes of the Minot Group Conference 3 is the idea of the administrative reform is not a one-time phenomena. So the Minot Group Conference 3 is also combined with the CPA. So the usage of the CPA is defined in the Minot Group Conference. So automatically the one-time phenomenon, it's not a one-time phenomenon. So it is continuous process. in which the role of the mechanisms over than that the public bureaucracy is equally significant and critical. So the critical portion is here is the public bureaucracy. So they are more important in the society because they are going to focus on two things. One is governance and second is public management. So automatically it is very important, and simultaneously in which that the conceptualization comes another perspective critics the ethnocentric basis. So another critic is also related to the ethnocentric, bias of that it's while the scholars of CPA. So by highlighting that the significance of the grass cultural borrowings, the conference emphasizes the importance of the learning from the different experiences. So learn from different experiences to evolve the meaningful methodological to understand the conceptual peculiarities. So of the public administration in various socio-economic and political circumstances, being critical of that top-down model. So from top is what it's a hierarchical model, right? Top down. So higher post person bureaucracy is in the above line, and second bottom is it's a only workers. Okay. So the top down model, the participants may seems to focus more on the reasons for reforms. So they are focusing on the reforms, and it's rather it's diffusion that rather than attributing the failure of the reforms. So they are not going to take the concept of the why the failure is happened. They are going to change they need to change the reforms, change the form from the current situation, but it's inflexible. It's creating inflexible situations. It are not inept bureaucracies in the developing countries. So the fundamental point that came out of that 2008 in the Group Conference 3 is a serious endeavor to capture the changing the nature of the public governance in the globalizing world, and when the cross national experiences are considered most critical in the recapitalizing the public administration in its present incarnation. So the most beautiful voice that was articulated in the conference was the challenge to the efforts at explaining the diverse nature of the uh, public. Okay, so here we have to focus on two things. One is governance, and second one is public management. So these 2 point taken by the bureaucrats. Okay, so they are focusing on the this kind of governance and the public management, but at the same time they are facing the very important inflexibility problem. Okay, inflexibility among the top down model of the hierarchical structure. They need to reform it. Due to that this monograph 3 only they are having the chance to reform this situation. So here the public administrations with these theoretical models that have grown out of the US specific socio-economic circumstances. So to remind the meaningful in the present context, that is there is a need to reinvent the public administration. They are going to reform and reinvent the public administration by underlying the distinctive nature of the narrative that discipline in a different context in the global perspective. So the context in which that Meno Group Conference 3 took place is needs special attention. So special attention ours is network society. So the key driver is in the emergence of the new network society in the technology. So the primarily the new information and the communication technologies and its growth is dependent on the ability of the actors and the institutions to perform the communicatively and effectively in the emerging the networks by reaping the benefits of the new technological paradigm. So the network society is new in the sense that the networks are no longer regulated to the private of social life, but become key to the economic production as well as the public policy making and implementation. So the moreover this kind of reinvention happen in the public administration is going to create a new society, new network of the national society. Here they are focusing on two things. One is the economic production as well as the public policy making. So public policy making and its implementation, not only about the making, it's also focus on the implementation. So there are two things they are focusing. One is the economic production, and second one is the public policy making and implementation. Here the network society consists of the networks operated by the information and communication. So the network is needed, the IT, ICT, right? Information and communication technologies to generate the process, and distributes the information on the basis of the knowledge accumulated in the nodes of the network. It's mentioned by the Andres. Okay, and in such a context, the idea of the collaborative governance seems to be have struck organic roots. Okay, it want to struck the organic roots of which was clearly articulated by participants in the conference. Here, the Minnow Group Conference 3 emphasizes the importance of the collaborative governance. Here, they are focusing on two things. The one thing is the governance. More specifically, they are focusing on collaborative governance as precursors that the best shield against the government slagging and public bureaucratic delay. So, everywhere if you go, it's a red tapeism is also there, so the bureaucratic delay to be avoided. So in an interdependent world, the collaborative governance refers to which the ways of institutionalizing the coordinations and to establish decision making process that works in the multi-organizational settings such as networks of the government agencies, and key to on effective decision making into is is a meaningful coordination among various institutions and involved in making and also implementing decisions. And furthermore, there has to be compatibility between policies decisions and the government capabilities. Otherwise, it will also lead to the policy paralysis. So there are negative points also. The collaborative why the collaborative governance is needed, because one is the bureaucratic delay and second one is the policy paralysis. And because the institutional capacities of the government will hardly to adequate to translate into the decisions in deeds. So this is a serious impediments. Okay, so if you have the decision but you cannot translate into the action, right? So that's why it's a kind of a impediments to the growth of the public administration, so as in the solid science. And as a Minnow Group Conference 3 is underlines is that uh, in order to address this kind of issue, the difficulties due to that lack of coordination among the government, here. Okay, let's pick it. Uh, Institution agencies, the government asking to what? Yes, here the difficulties due to the lack of coordinations among the governmental institutions and agencies. The conferences introduce the new concept that is interoperability. Operability is the idea borrowed from the engineering sciences and refers to the ability of diverse systems and the organizations to work together. What is the interoperability? So it's a kind of borrowed word, okay, from the engineering sciences, and which refers to the ability of diverse systems and organizations to work together. It is about a process of working together by taking into account all the possible social, political, and organizational factors that impact the outcome. So, in the wake of revolution in informations and the communication technologies, interoperability is a value addition in the public administration through the creation of the connected systems that facilitates a better decision making, better coordination of the government programs, and enhanced services to the citizens and the business. So finally, they are concluding due to this interoperability, they can achieve, they can facilitate better decision making as well as the better coordination to be increased. And the key driver of this construction of the interoperability is the technology. So ICT, we discussed ICT previously, so that the information and communication technology is used as the findings of the conference identifies the following list of the examples. So they are going to give some kind of interoperable systems of examples. Here first one is it's enable the people enable governance. Okay, so it's also creating a meaningful people enabled governance. First one is citizens' participation in the democratic system. So they access the information for enhancing the political action activities, etc. So the advocate, it's also in a engaging, advocating, debating and voting, and creation of the new electronic forums for the citizen engagement. And second important point is the transparency and trust. So across to integrated the holistic views of the government resources and operations, create the transparency and build citizen trust in all and allegiance to government. So citizens and the business services here, the third point. So it's creating the business related services like information about the benefits of the services and available to the citizens that they would otherwise be unaware of that, unable to acquire that. And the second is easy to use that, the accessible and geographically distributed citizens and business services, etc. So the fourth important point is the government management and economic development, internal modernized and infrastructures for the governmental operations to support the back office processing of citizen and business services, and provide the informations for the financial transparency and accountability. So financial transparency and accountability, they improved the government wide coordination for responding to crises such as a natural disaster and etc. So there are 4 points till now we are discussed. These are creating the certain kind of examples to the examples to the interoperability systems like democracy and citizen participation, and second the transparency and trust, and third the citizen and business services, and final one is the government management and economic development. Here this kind of disaster and public health problems, and facilitating the creation of the consumer producer networks and alternatives and more sustainable markets as such as the fair trade, etc. So here the fifth most important point is like government long-term strategies and policy making. So it's consolidated the databases and data warehouses, providing informations to support strategic planning and policy making in government, and stimulate the local, regional and national economies by attracting the investments through an enhanced reputation for the improved government operations and new and innovative services available to citizens and business. Okay, innovative services available to the citizens and business. Okay, finally this kind of the examples are important for the interoperability among the nations. Here the prime concerns of these today's public governance is evident to make the government sensitive to the public. Okay, government is sensitive, so how much sensitive towards the people, then only they can improve their governance skills. So that has now become the center of public administration. Also interoperability creates a context for the raise and consultations of the collaborative governance that characterizes the processes and structure of the public decision making, and the management that enable the constructive engagements on the public interest sectors and the public at large. Here, the collaborative governance argues that a variety of process in which all the sectors like public sector, private sector, and civic means civil society and the people, and convened to work together. This is a very important point. Work together to achieve the solutions to public problems that go beyond what any sector could achieve on its own. So whatever the individual sector achieve in itself, it's to be in the collaborative manner. So that is called as a collaborative governance. Okay, so this is not only the step towards the serious civic engagement, but also it's also a sure guarantee to consolidate participatory democracy that both strengthens the public voice and improves the responsiveness of the governments by providing an opportunity to embed the governance systems and institutions with the greater levels of the transparency, accountability and legitimacy. So transparency, accountability and legitimacy, it's to be provider, and the public public administration is embedded in a specific socio-economic milieu. Here, the first point is moreover focused on the governance in the interoperability manner of the collaborative decision making, and how the governance to be to be made in among the multiple sectors, okay, public, private and civic society. And here the second is focused on the socio-economic milieu. Here the it's contextual, so contextual, the collaborative governance is a meaningful articulations of some specific technique. So it's needed some specific techniques is to re-emphasize the publicness of the public administration. Very important, publicness of the public in administration. Previously we discussed the sensitive towards the public. Second, the publicness of the public administration. So this is a significant theoretical conceptualization by which both enabling and reflective of a movement towards the people, right? So movement towards reforming the public roots of the governance by laying the foundation for serious public engagement. The collaborative governance is about those practices upholding some of the principles of the Monogroup Conference from of 1968 and sought to be the project of the human face. Okay, the first Monogroup Conference is related to the human face of the public administration, of emphasizing its concerns for public well-being, and it is thus well defined the practice that it's designed to foster more effective engagements of the deliberations of the whole of agencies and the stakeholders, and including creating a conditions like the transparency and coordinations and capacity for people to engage constructively by providing the resources and skills. The other fundamental point that attracted the significant attention concerns that the visible decline of the democratic ethos. So the previous point is focused on the socio-economic concept, and by means of providing the human face of the public administration in the Monogroup Conference 1 of 1968 it's discussed. Now the decline of the democratic ethos, it's also creating the attraction towards the problems, right? So the relative ascendancies of the bureaucratic ethos and in contemporary public decision making, which is explained in terms of the failure of the deliberative democracy. So it's like kind of the deliberative democracy. Kind of deliberative democracy to be failed. That's why the problem is created. It's taken as a consideration for their concept, and to strike roots in the process itself. And in the era of the governance, the public administration refers to the process driven act. So process driven act in which the role of the citizen seems to be negligible, and thus contradictory to the idea of the deliberative democracy, and which refers to the infusing the government decision making with the reasoned decisions, discussions and constructive judgments of citizens. The reasons are to be located in the traditional emphasis on bureaucratic centric public administration. So since the publication the study of the public administration by the Woodrow Wilson in 1887, the Luther Coolidge in 1937, conceptualization of the petrograph, its acronym of organization, planning, organization, staffing and directing, coordinating, reporting, budgeting, etc. So we already discussed about the petrograph concept, and Herbert Simon, the notion of that boundary rationality. So rationality concept is under the Herbert Simon concept, and further strengthen the perspective of the public administration as a discipline remained confined to a significant extent to explaining the various dimensions of the involvement of bureaucracy in the public decision making. So obvious result is what conceptualized as the citizenship deficit. So citizenship deficit here, which refers to the withdrawal of the citizens in matters of the public consequences. Due to that public consequences, the withdrawal of the citizens, it's called the citizenship deficit. So as a result of the public administration fails to adequately the confront and grasp the issues of the public administration in the democracy, where the political system acts on the collaborative choice and decides on the basis of civic engagement. So several new issues grip public attentions, which so far have remained peripheral in the society. So here the public decision making and the in the perspective of the socio-economic, it's changed circumstances of the 21st century. The public administration is not merely the faceless function, but also but an act that embodies different set of the norms and the principles such as regime values and citizenship, public interest, and the social equity. Here, the predominant scholars, those who are reconceptualize the public administrations within the theoretical paradigm of democratic ethos, include John Gause and Marshall Dimmock and Paul Appleby and Norton Long, Frederick Mosher and David Waldo by integrating administrative practices with democratic values. Not only did these authors reinvent the public administration, they also initiated a new debate in the discipline, suggesting the critical importance of the context in understanding the nature of the public administration and initiating the challenging the efforts at the building of the universal model following the Weberian theoretical dispositions. So the deliberative democracy is a theoretical design and rediscovery of the democratic ethos in the public administration. So this is a very important point. This kind of deliberative democracy is failed. That's why the rediscovery of the democratic ethos is happening in the public administration. So drawn on the basic democratic values of inclusion, equity, and participation and public interest. These are all important democratic values. So what are the democratic values? You can include it in the conclusion of the public administration questions. We have to maintain the inclusion, equity, and participations as well as the public interest. So this provides an institutionalized design of design for the formally involving citizens in the making of public decisions, because the dialogue among the stakeholders creates a forum for discussions and the deliberations, which generally led a consequential consensual decisions. So, and it's in this sense, it is a process that is much more than the mere aggregations of the individual views, and deliberative democracy does that effective mechanisms to relocate the public in the discipline of the shaping of public affairs, and it also provides a way to help the balance the tensions between the bureaucratic and the democratic ethos in the public administration. So it is this is how the reshaping happen in public administration in the contemporary public administrative world. So there are three important words like interoperability and collaborative democracy and deliberative democracy. How it is differentiate between the collaborative democracy and what deliberative democracy, how the deliberative democracy is changed into the democratic ethos, etc. And also there are two important concepts is mainly focused on the governance and the public management, as well as you have to include the governance. Nowadays we need ICT, like information and communication technology. It's going to help to improve their systems under under the administration. So now in upcoming videos we are going to discuss this kind of challenges, how the this uh, public administration facing certain kind of challenges. What is the way a guide to avoid this kind? Thank you.